Thank you. Okay, hi, I'm Kevin McDonagh. I lead product at Velocity, and I am going to speak to you today about harnessing the power of cringe in your product with cross-functional interviewing. And I'm going to start with a story about a submarine in 1945, the U-1206. And these submarines, at the end of around 1945, they cost around 50 to 100 million dollars. They took only 8 months to get to production. They were really churning these out, and there aren't many creature comforts on a submarine, especially then. And the most requested upgrade during this time was for the waste facilities, and so there was a model that they wanted to put out that they believed that could be submerged like longer by having the ability to stay submerged, and because you had to come up to release the waste, but it was quite complicated. They came up with a really complicated method where you could have vacuum chambers that would release the waste into different areas and then out actually while you were submerged. And it was so complicated, you needed a dedicated engineer to man the bathrooms. And the story is that on the maiden voyage of the U-1206, Carl Schlitt, the commanding officer, the captain of the submarine, um, in its first few days at sea, um, he had used it once before, and he felt maybe a little bit overconfident. He felt like he got the gist, and there's different stories as to what happened next. But you can now visit the U-1206 off of Cruden Bay in Scotland with a scuba outfit, and you can go and you can visit the uh, remains of it. What happened was that they he got himself into a bit of a pickle, and then he called the engineer, and then he left. And the engineer was like, ah, and the water all came out, and it cascaded onto the batteries, which were below the bathroom, and then methane gas was released, and they had to quickly raise up the submarine to the surface, and the Royal Air Force were just at that moment going above, and they bombed it, and everyone had to escape it. And this, I believe, illustrates a challenge that all startups have. You got to get your product to market. You got to do it. You got to get out there fast. And there are compromises you're going to have to make. But those compromises, they have to be made in a fashion which there's joint up thinking, and the cascading failures that can happen when there's not the joined up thinking of working together as a team. You can think some things are really trivial, but they're not trivial, and it can work in a laboratory, but it needs to be truly modular in the context. So if you take one thing away from this talk today, just this one thing, the one thing is that for startups in particular, cross-functional interviewing is mandatory. Like, it's not a negotiable. You need to have all of the different disciplines involved in your interviewing to get that buy-in, to get that to overcome all of the unknown unknowns together and make it a conversation. And it's only that way that you're going to be able to surface the technicalities that you don't know before they happen. Those cascading failures. Maybe the batteries shouldn't be underneath the bathroom when it leaks. Like, maybe that shouldn't happen. And you need to challenge. You need to completely challenge that all the time. And I'm going to give you a recipe, which is a very simple recipe for growth and for success. I believe it entirely. And it's simply just like rubbing your nose in it all the time. And I can't guarantee like the amount of growth, but I can guarantee that you are going to see people try and react to those challenging problems all the time. My background is that I have ran a large digital product agency. I have worked in large companies helping their digital products achieve like significant millions of users growth. And I have had my own startups where I've been working in cutting edge technologies, trying to get people to use augmented reality, TikTok and augmented reality, and kind of and in some really challenging circumstances where like old world industries of fresh produce. But now I am working in the now, where you should be using AI user testing in your products before speaking with your customers to make sure that you're raising the floor and helping that out. But today I'm going to be talking about cringe. So, cringe, what is cringe? And then I'm going to tell you about how I've embraced with cringe and how I've addressed, used that power of cringe in my organization. And I hope you can too. Cringe is like a secondhand embarrassment. It's like you're laughing at, not laughing with. And some figures in British culture that best reflect this, those feelings are like pioneering comedians like Steve Coogan, who has ran with Alan Partridge, who he's metamorphosized into over the years, and Richard Medley, who has not broken character for 30 years. Very funny man. So these, in the context of interviewing, depending on if you are an observer or an interviewer, cringe is really largely shame. And shame is the result of internalizing a social contempt. It's a feeling of falling below the uh, the judgment, the bar of opinion, and uh, the shame that counts most is in front of those you respect and admire, your peers. And enduring the experiences of shame is traumatic. It leaves like a long memory, a long held memory. And the shame of the world has a precise function. It serves to immunize us. It can potentially prevent a repetition of like horror and hatred. And that's a quote from Primo Levi. But the antibodies that you get when you're feeling this shame, you can't get them secondhand. Like you need to feel the shame firsthand. And but when you realize this construct of shame, it can kind of be deflected. You can turn it back on itself. And the way that I think of shame, it's like a box. It's a box of like other people's opinions, like it's the social opinions, and we have to kind of go over those opinions. We have to imagine past those opinions. I believe shame ought to be the price that we pay in interviewing, and everyone involved in it. That's what it is. You have to seek it out and take part in it. During his lifetime, Jean Genet was a scoundrel. He lived around 1910 in France, and he was a thief and a homosexual, which was not encouraged then. And he wrote a book about his experiences in the Maitreyi penal colony, where young delinquents were sent to be rehabilitated and disciplined. And throughout all of this discipline, he came up with this kind of spiritual exercise in himself, where he thought to himself, for every charge brought against me, and just as it may be, from the bottom of my heart, I shall answer yes. He started to say, like, yes, I'm taking it. That's how you perceive me, and I am going to like work beyond those foundations. So he built this system where he was strong in this system. Something he could control in this system, because the desperation not to die confiscates everything, including inducing a lack of shame. It induces a lack of shame, and this I believe is very pertinent to startups. Like you don't get to be ashamed. You don't get to worry about that. You have to engage with the shame where it is happening. You need to do it, and you have to imagine past that shame, because we need imagination to conceptualize what this shame is. But you have to imagine past that and not live in the eyes of others. You need to think yourself greater than that. So moving on to the workflow, how can we engage like in a normal workflow, like this conversation of shame? Well, I live by the lean startup. If there's only one book that you ever read, it's basically the same book that's been the whole cause of like lean um, penetrating into the minds of product, and it's the Lean Startup by Eric Ries. But also, I love Lean Customer Development by Cindy Alvarez, and this gives you a structure for doing it. Continuous build habits, where you have got the opportunity solution tree, and escaping the build trap, where we're talking about working to outcomes rather than outputs. And I'm going to mention these as we go along. But the real work of user centricity, I want to be super, super duper clear. It's prioritization, and it's assuming the shame of where you are right now. Because if you are not embarrassed about where you ship, where you start from, then you haven't done it soon enough. You need to be embarrassed, and you need to be there and engaging with the shame all the time. And it's not about tickets, it's not about writing things, it's not about anything else apart from speaking with customers. And you need to be doing that all the time. There's a great story about Jeff Bezos. Um, sorry to, it's a bit trite to pull out these people you've heard of a million times. But Jeff Bezos is in a meeting. He's in his his executive staff meeting with everyone, and someone's got like a stat on the board, and it says that average phone wait time is 59 seconds. And he was like, really? And it was like 59 seconds is average. That's great. But he had this email account where he was seeing all these people complaining about the wait time all the time. And so, in front of all of his executive staff, he phoned the customer support line, of course. And 60 seconds passed, and then 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and there was no answer. And then after 10 minutes, where they were like on the hold music, there was still nothing. It was a really long time. And they had to wait a really long time, and nothing was happening. And it turned out that the metric for the average wait time for answer calls ignored the time until it got picked up. And so I think that represents the quote that he said, where he was like, when the data and the anecdotes disagree, the anecdotes are usually right. And seeing that firsthand, there is nothing like seeing that firsthand. There is nothing like internalizing that firsthand and taking that and owning that deep cut. And with my team, where they started from was that they couldn't really see the point, to be honest. But when they felt the pain, they were like, "Oh, I really don't want this anymore." But they kept doing it. More power to them. And whole team interviewing enhances that empathy. It's not just a hypothetical exercise anymore. It's not it's not a thought experiment. You're there and you're speaking to real users using your product, the thing that you're using. And it doesn't matter if they're in the customer success, marketing, the it doesn't matter if they're in HR. They should all be given the opportunity to really be in front of the people using the product that they're talking about all the time. And that is so powerful. It's such a powerful thing. I believe that as our discipline of product management moves more and more and more to being automated in all these other ways, that can never be automated, like that exploration. So it really bridges so many gaps in between that we don't know what we don't know. So we're trying to seek out these user confusions, like the pain points, right? You're gonna see those high bounce rates, and you're gonna see those low feature adoptions, and things that just don't make any sense. That's your opportunity to be interviewing, and you want to take as many people into there as possible for the interview. So I'm going to tell you about when I joined this company I'm with, Velocity, and when I joined what was called AppVelocity, and they were a completely different product, and they didn't have any users. They'd been in development for nearly a year and a half, and they believed that they really knew their audience and knew their product. And I was like, but who are the customers, and like, where are they? And they're like, no, you don't understand. Like, we have so much experience. And I was like, okay. So like what we did was we got together all together, and I opened up my LinkedIn and I said, right, guys, you know the target audience, and we made this target audience together, and we're going to pinpoint people in my LinkedIn network, and we're going to talk to them over the phone, and you're going to sell it to them, because they'll understand, right? And in that first week, we did 8 interviews, I think, over 3 days, 4 days, something like that. And uh, yeah, it didn't go well. It didn't go well at all. And people were confused. The value proposition wasn't clear. And obviously, it had to be worked on. And altogether, there was a kind of a slight despondency and a stepping back. But in that gap, that chasm, there was an opportunity for change away from the tightly held beliefs that previously they knew that they were onto something. When they had to be in that driving seat, when they had to kind of engage with those target target users, target customers, which ones, I don't know. They had to really kind of reconcile those differences. So what we did was quickly we found our initial target, first target customer, and we used a technique called min specs, which is part of the liberating structures, which I thoroughly advise everyone to use. And we iterated through the room to get to a point where together with our customer where we found the things that it must do, that must not do, and we iterated to get to a minimum specification. And then from there, we used Rice to prioritize what we're going to deliver from that work. And we came up with this proposition. Okay, get it to market. We've got something that we need to put out there. We had to work to get it to anything that could be used as soon as possible. I put interviews every single week. From now on, we are interviewing every single week, multiple times a week. So I would put some on the Tuesday, some on the Wednesday, and some on the Friday. That sounds excessive, right? Like that sounds hard. But if you want to create urgency, go. Like these engineers knew that they didn't want to be in those meetings. Like we had to really kind of get to something fast. So the problem was we had this huge journey where you had to get all the way through this process to make it sync. So the product was completely different then. It was synchronizing variables from design into the code base, and the actual work required internally was too much. It was boring. And you needed to use the terminal. Like I was using the terminal, and me, an experienced user, got it down to like 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes to actually get there. But what I did was I made a scoreboard. I made a scoreboard for time to first publication, which was our North Star. I was like, okay, guys, we're going to get this down. And until we get it down, we're going to be on interviews watching other people do it. And if you want to see cringe, you want to sit for 49 minutes on an interview while you watch people use your product. And you like look at the difference between the guy that it was 49 minutes and they sat through that. Like it wasn't even a week later and it was 18 minutes. That's the power of cringe. If you get the engineers into a room and they're all like, oh my god, I really don't want to sit for 49 minutes watching someone else do it. 18 minutes. That there is absolutely the power. But while we were doing this, the world moved on. The world had already moved on from the proposition as it originally had been set, and Lovable and Bolt and all of these products came out, and they were great, and it just didn't make sense. The value proposition which we were originally on, but it's okay because we've interviewed loads of people, and all of the engineers and the designers all felt the same way. They were like, yeah, like now that we've spoken to all of these designers, we can really quickly pivot, and all of them felt the same way. We all pivoted, very user centric. We've got all of the data needed to really change. In our story maps, we modified them slightly, and from there, we were able to kind of find what the opportunities were going to be in this new context, and opportunities that we while we're doing all of our interviews, we always put opportunities right down there, like loads of little bubbles to come back to. And we went back to all of our opportunities and made new opportunity solution trees. That's where we're trying to meet a target. First target's going to be like X amount of users. I think to begin with, it was just having like 10 users. And then from there, what's going to get us that 10 users? Well, we've heard this a whole bunch of times. And then there, we're going to have solutions to get those 10 users. We were very quick to kind of address the high value, lowest satisfaction elements to be able to get out to market where our, our competitors weren't even looking. And from there, we were able to offer something instant feedback that we believed was going to really see a high uptake. So from when we first released, it was around about here. This is very low activity, but I'm gonna have to fly by because I'm getting on to my time. Quickly, some things that we did that were cringeworthy as well that we had to fight through. That I want to give you the benefit of these cringeworthy moments. We had in Figma, you have the concept of a playground. That's where you can use a plugin very quickly. And we had to fight through this playground. It had loads and loads of steps, and it had loads and loads of text, and we had to tell people how to use it. And we shortened it down, and over 10 interviews, we managed to shorten it down from originally it was like I don't know, 25, 30 steps. We got it down to 3, but still there was loads of text on it, and no one read the text, and everyone was confused. And eventually, over the interviews, we got to basically absolutely none of our interface on, simply a challenge. And this converted way more than anything else. And it's funny how you reduce, 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 and you can say you need to have like the best interface is no interface, but feeling the pain really makes it happen. And we still had all these products, all these challenges with conversion. But all these challenges with conversion, we had like all of these input fields that were required because designers felt like it needed to have these to be a professional design user testing product. Engineers felt like it needed to have this at this period in order to for technical reasons. But after so many input errors, so many lorem dipsum being entered into here, uh, actually witnessing it getting in the way of actually people using it, all at the end of the day, we ended up with one prompt, and it makes the whole team feel the pull towards simplicity all the time. And again, with putting the sample file, putting the demos front and center in front of people, this got it really used. And the worst of all, oh, the worst of all was the idea of of wrapping a section, because in order to make this happen faster, we wanted as small an area as possible to actually consume, because we make a snapshot of it. And we tried everything to get people to understand. We need you to do this. We need you to do this. We even animated it. We told them in every way we could. But all it did was stop people using the product. So eventually we put this little message down here, and it converts better than anything. If you want to make it go faster, do this. If not, more power to you. You can wait. And when people waited, the the thing that we did most successfully was simply stick a random link on the interface that people could click out to, and we didn't hear any problems again. And they could just like peruse it. Conversion improved. Hurrah! Great. And that all worked. And you can see here, this is from March, but the user session time just like shot up. So yeah, we're very useful now. It's great, and I want everyone to go and check it out. We're on there anyway. Okay, so basically the benefits and challenges here are, the biggest one I'm gonna say is like analysis paralysis is no more. Don't worry about it. If you pull all those people into the meeting, they are not going to be paralyzed by analysis. Don't worry. They're going to want to tackle it. And it brings the team together in their thinking, and it helps people get creative in the gaps. And you're going to get pushback, and people are going to say things like, "Oh yeah, but like I know what's wrong already." No, you don't know what's wrong. You haven't earned the antibodies. You haven't earned that, and you need to actually experience it first. So I really want everyone to go away from this talk and proudly proudly seek out the cringe, proudly as a team pull people in that might not actually ever want to ever be in an interview, but proudly pull them in to develop those antibodies for your team, for your product, to make it better. And for everyone here today, I want to offer you 50% off our product. This will work for 30 days, or you can search for us on the Figma community. And I thank you very much. Go and embrace your cringe. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kevin. Hope everybody out there is cringing right now. We do have a couple of comments from Joel. He's saying appropriate name, maybe. So you can fill us in, Joel, if you thought it was appropriate. And the other one, Ganesh has asked, can you please relist all 4 book names? So I took down Lean Startup, Continuous Discovery Habits, but you had Lean something else, and
Oh yeah, like so the Lean Startup, Continuous Discovery Habits by Teresa Torres, Escaping the Build Trap by Melissa Perry, and Lean Customer Development by Cindy Alvarez. And there's another one as well, Running Lean is should be on there. Those are the only books I think anyone needs to build a product nowadays.
Excellent. I'm going to ask you a question about another book that you put up there, and that was around min specs. So you ran over that really quickly.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, so liberating structures. So liberating structures is a canned set of workshop structures to help you through any workshop environment. And if I absolutely advocate everyone to check out liberating structures online. It's all free. There's lots of recipes there. And if you're ever going to be in a workshop situation, like as fast as you can get a structure to have a great outcome out of any situation that's been tested like hundreds of thousands of times. And min specs is a great way to get to a minimum specification without even knowing anything about the product.
Great. I'll definitely check that out. Just doing a time check. We got 40 seconds. The only other one I noted was around rice. Is rice not a bit risky because you're baking in assumptions without talking to your customers? Because you said you did your rice prioritization ahead of kind of your tests.
Yeah, I think all of these things are a moving target. They're an ovarian window. There's no like one that like there's like you'll do one thing one time, but it's not the definite time. You have to revisit. I'm never scared to do the best with what we have. Like you just kind of got to go with it. And it might be that we had to initially do like estimation before we had enough evidence, but again, analysis paralysis, just move with it and then re-estimate when you know more.
Excellent. And on that, I just want to thank you once again, Kevin. That was a very cringy talk, so thank you for sharing.